Hi, Monarch students. This is Ms. Kurganin, and I'm going to lead you in a lecture today about the demographic transition model. While I'm going through this lecture, you're going to be taking notes on a document that looks like this. I've drawn the population pyramids for you, and then you are taking some notes about the different stages. Stage 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If this document isn't working for you and you want to just take notes in columns, you're going to need 5 columns, and you're going to be writing down some defining characteristics of each stage. This is what you're going to upload when you're done with the lecture. So let's talk about what is the demographic transition model and why do we care? It is actually a great way to track what's going on in a country through time. We're looking at its economic development, looking at its health, looking at its safety, looking at its education level. And so geographers like to geek out about these things called population pyramids down here because it tells us a lot about a country in just a snapshot. So I'm going to explain what's going on with these graphs and with these shapes. And before I do, I just need to introduce you to what is a population pyramid. It's in the shape of a pyramid. One side is females, usually pink, not always, and one side is males. And this is actually looking at an equilateral triangle, a perfect population pyramid, which it's rare that you're going to have just as many, that the births cancel out the deaths, that you have this population that's perfectly organized with the people that were just born. And then you can see as you go up this population pyramid, less and less people as you get older because older people die. And so this is showing the gradual, lessening of the population through time. When we are analyzing this, we're looking to see, okay, well, are there more boys than girls? I know some of you watched that movie called World in Balance. And in Miss Kurganin's classes, we were talking about places in the world that have this preference for boys because there's more opportunity for those boys, or those boys, they're seen as an investment. And that sometimes in this population pyramid, you'll see more blue than the pink. And that would be the gender is not in balance. This right here shows that the gender is in balance. The other thing I wanted to point out about a population pyramid is just the idea of a dependency ratio. So when you think about like who's running the country, it's not the old people, it's not the young people, it's the people in the middle. So this is your workforce. And so the workforce is having to take care of the young people who aren't old enough to clothe themselves, feed themselves, do their bathroom stuff. So these people are dependent on the middle-aged people. But then when you think about old people really old are also dependent, that they're dependent on being fed and clothed and taken care of with their health needs. So this workforce has a lot of work to do. They have to do the work of the economy, and they've got to take care of the youth. That's called youth dependency, and elderly dependency. Now, sometimes when you're looking at these pyramids, there's too many babies. That's like a youth dependency ratio. Or you'll see way too many old people up here, and that's an elderly dependency ratio. So in analyzing population pyramids, I really geek out on this because you can see like what's going on with the population and like when I look at this one, I'm wondering, well, where did the middle-aged people go? What happened to them? Did they die in war? Did they die of AIDS? Like, where'd they go? Like there seems to be a lot of old people. There seems to be a lot of young people, but not a lot of old people. So it makes you wonder a lot about what's going on with that country, makes you want to investigate more. So let's talk about the demographic transition model. And in your notes, you're going to be writing down some details of these different stages. Now, the idea is that all countries move through these different stages through time, and that some countries move through the different stages faster than others, as I'll explain. So you're going to write down in your first column these notes right here, that a stage 1 has a high birth rate, but a fluctuating death rate. And you could also just write high death rate, high birth rate, high death rate. So hopefully you're not colorblind, because this is the purple line is the birth rate, the green line is the death rate, and then the black line is the population rate. So what am I seeing in stage 1? I'm seeing that this must be a population that is having a lot of babies. Look at this high birth rate here. But they're also a population that is dying often. They have a high death rate. Why are they dying? Well, they're probably a country without medicine. So here you would write down no medicine. And if you have a lot of babies, but you also have a lot of deaths, that pretty much equals it out. And that's why the population is so low. So you would write down low population. Do we have any countries in a stage one where everybody's dying and they're having a lot of babies? The answer is no. That we used to have countries like this, but most of the countries have kind of moved on. The only populations that we see still in a stage one that have never had access to modern medicine are some pygmies in like the Amazon rainforest, maybe some Aborigines out in the middle of the bushland in Australia. They haven't had medicine yet. So then that would explain what's going on with stage two. If a country starts to have medicine, then that brings down the death rate. So you're going to write down declining death rate, but you still have this high birth rate. I would also want you to write down the word medicine because this is showing that medicine is bringing down the death rate. They're not dying as often. But because they still have a lot of babies, well, why do they have those babies? Stage two countries might be trying to have a boy baby because stage two countries are hoping that the boy baby will give them some family success. Maybe they need a lot of babies to work in agriculture because stage two countries are often very agricultural, really trying to focus on how to feed their huge population. Would you please write exploding population? If you have the death rate coming down, but you still have a lot of babies, boom, there goes your population. It's huge. And so these are countries in a stage two that often don't have enough food to feed all of those people. That these are countries that are in distress. These are countries where you kind of want to get out of there because there's not enough resources to go around. These are often the countries that are migrating and going to other places that are more stable. So this is a stage two. Stage three in this column, notice that the birth rate starts to come down. Well, why would the birth rate come down? Well, maybe women don't want to have as many babies anymore. Maybe they're in the workforce. So here I would write down women working. If I had 12 babies, that would be really hard for me to do my job. So this is showing birth control, either by choice or by medicine, where you don't want to have as many babies because you're now, as a female, part of the workforce. In stage two countries where they really invest in the male baby, women are often doing the agriculture and doing a lot of the labor jobs. But here you can see that women are going to be in the workforce. This is also still a country that has access to medicine, so the death rate keeps coming down. And if you have the birth rate and the death rate coming down, your population is going to start to slow, which is good. There's hopefully going to be enough to go around for everybody with resources, and you're more educated. So people are going to be living longer, which brings you to stage four. A stage four country has very low death rates because they have the medicine to keep everyone alive. They've got low birth rates because by choice or by medicine, they are choosing not to have a lot of babies. And they've got the money to keep a large amount of people alive. So these are countries that often have a lot of people, but the people are living a long time and their total population is really high. So the idea of the demographic transition model is showing that countries, as you develop, as you gain education, as you gain access to medicine, you will become more stable in your population and there will be hopefully enough resources to go around. Now, you could go through these stages quickly or you could go through slowly. So I'm going to show you in the next slide what I mean by that. So we've done that. We've done that. Oh, maybe I still don't have. Maybe I have to just use this one. That's okay. That's right. Let me pause for a second. I want to add another slide in here. So hang on. All right, sorry about that. I wanted to make sure that I had this slide because it shows you a stage five. So when we're talking about countries that go through these different stages, the United States was a country that was a stage one back when there were like Native Americans and indigenous populations. Then when the colonists came here, we were very agricultural. So we were stage two, like in the 1600s. Stage 3 is when we were in an industrial age and we had women working. So that was like in our 1900s or so. And then here's our present day. We're in a stage 4. So we did that in about 200 years, but Japan actually went from 2 to 4 to almost a 5 in only about 50 years. So some countries can come sailing through these different stages, and some can do it slowly, like the United States. Now, in your notes, I would like you to include what are some example countries in each stage. So I said that there's no countries in a stage 1. There's only a few remote groups like the Pygmies or maybe the Aborigines. But example countries in a stage 2, you could write down Egypt, Kenya, and India. These are countries that need lots of children for farming. They seem to have a preference for boy babies, and they are countries that have an exploding population right now. So they're kind of stuck in a stage 2 until they put more women in school. When they put more women in school and industrialize, then they're going to have more money because they'll have both genders in the workforce. For example, countries in a stage 3, I'd have you write down Brazil, Mexico, and Venezuela. So we see lots of countries in Central or South America being late expanding. I often think of stage 3 as the countries that when you look at labels like made in China or made in Vietnam, these are countries that have a lot of their population in industry working to make things. So you need men and women for those jobs. So they're the ones that are making our stuff. Examples of stage 4, I would write down the US, I'd write down France and the UK. I would not put Japan here. I think Japan, I would actually put here in a stage 5. So what is a stage 5? Stage 5, we haven't really seen this play out yet, but notice how people aren't having babies anymore. They don't want to have babies. Either babies are too expensive or they'd rather work. Well, if you're not having babies and you're not replacing the workforce, then there's not going to be any of these middle-aged people, and people are just going to get older and older and older, and you are going to lose your workforce. You have a country that's not replacing itself, that's got old people, but not young people. And that is a country that's nervous because how are they going to survive if they don't have the workforce? So examples of very stable countries that could keep their population alive for a long time and they've got low birth and death rates would be like the US, France, the UK. But then countries that seem to be disappearing might include Germany or Japan, or I'd put Russia. These are countries, and I'll show you in a second what their pyramids look like. They seem to be ballooning like a stage 5. So when I talk about the different pyramids, and again, this is just a review of the notes. This is, here, I'll go back. Hunter-gatherers. That's why they don't have access to modern medicine yet. Mining and agriculture for stage 2. In the industrial age here for stage 3. And then kind of technological service industry for stage 4. Okay, so population pyramids. We are going to be doing an assignment that around your UN country with population pyramids, and you're going to try and find population pyramids for a generation ago, now, and in the future. So let's look at what some different population pyramids look like, just to wrap your head around this. Here's stage 2. And when I look at this, I can say, oh my goodness, where are all the adults? Like they have lots and lots of, they have lots and lots of kids, but they don't seem to be living as long. These look like they are countries that don't have access to medical care. So examples are Ethiopia, Sudan, South Sudan, or Kenya. This could be because of disease, or it could also be because of war. Sorry about my little, my thingy here. I want it to go away. All right, next is stage 3. Stage 3 countries start to look like a Hershey's Kiss. So I kind of call that one like a witch's hat, where you're missing the middle people. And I want that to go away, but I think if I click into it, it's going to, boo. Okay, now it did. Okay, stage 3, sorry. A stage 3 country starts to look like a Hershey's Kiss. So they don't have as many babies. They're living just a little bit longer. So it starts to round out. Here I see that India, they're they're claiming it's more of a 3 than a 2. So it's kind of like in between. Here's Mexico, here's Venezuela, here's Bolivia, which I think looks more like a 2, but here it's saying that that's starting to round, I guess. So that's a stage 3. And these are countries that have their women in the workforce and they're using birth control. Stage 4, I think stage 4 kind of looks like a house because you've got more old people up here and it's straighter on the sides to show that they're bringing in the births. They don't have as many. And then this Denmark even starts to look like it's ballooning. So here's Indonesia, New Zealand, the US. And I really geek out on population pyramids because if you start to analyze them, like, look here, there's less guys right here than women. And like less guys in their 80s. Why would there be so many less guys in their 80s than women here in the United States? And if you think back, well, what was going on back like 40 years ago, 50 years ago now, actually, it's the Vietnam War. You can actually see like people disappearing, like that whole generation is gone right there from the Vietnam War. All right, next. What does a stage 5 look like? A stage 5, I think, starts to look like a mushroom. So you've got too many old people, not enough of the young people. These people should be have some babies because, and look at Russia, man, it's not, you don't live very long as a Russian man here, either because of war or from disease. And so these are countries that are stuck. They need a workforce. Spain's thinking about bringing in immigrants to work in its country because it just doesn't have enough of its workforce taking, and this is elderly dependency. So these are countries that are worried. Here's Japan is trying to provide some tax incentives to families to have more babies. Germany, you could have a tax incentive if you have some babies. Poland outright is just paying you to have babies. So those are called natalist policies. All right, I'm almost done. Here's kind of what you're going to be doing in your slideshow presentation. You are going to go to a website. You're going to find what did your population pyramid look like a generation ago, 20 years ago. So here's Venezuela. And what stage is that? That looks kind of like, it looks like a 2, almost a 3, because it's starting to round. And then you're going to find a population pyramid of, well, what do you look like now? Well, right now, Venezuela looks like a solid 3. What are you going to look like a generation in the future? So you're going to find up to 20 years in the future. And we see that Venezuela is kind of moving towards a stage 4, which actually most countries in the world are moving towards a stage 4, which is awesome because that means there's going to be enough resources and medicine for everybody. I want to show you a couple more before I get off. Check this out. What's going on with Qatar? This is freaky. So you would look at this and you say, okay, clearly they have a preference for males, but that's not the full story. So this would be a pretty even stage 4 looking pyramid, except you've got this wacky extension here of people in their 20s and 30s. And if you know anything about Qatar in Southwest Asia, they are just booming with their economy. They're building, they're really going gangbusters in the oil industry. So this actually shows workers that are coming to work in Qatar. And so this is actually showing an immigrant population. Let me show you the next one. What is going on in Lawrence, Kansas, which again would be a pretty stable stage 4 pyramid, except something wacky's going on here in people in their 20s. Like, what is going on? Do you know anything about Lawrence, Kansas, where there would be twice as many people in their 20s? That's my clue. It's a college town. This is actually what a college town looks like. I bet if we pulled a population pyramid of Boulder right now, it would look something like that. Okay, this is the last thing that you're going to do is I want to make sure you've got the notes that you need, and then you're going to upload them. And then, is that coming? Is that my notes? Yeah, nope. Hang on. How do I stop? Stop. Okay, sorry about that. I had to find your notes because I want to make sure that you have the notes that you need. Where'd they go? You guys, I know, I'm driving you crazy. Okay, stage 1, do you have high birth rate, high death rate, no medicine, no education, short life expectancy? You don't need all of this, but you need a lot of this. Hunter-gatherers should be in your notes. Stage 2, do you have mining and mostly agricultural? High, you've got a high birth rate, but the death rate's coming down. Not a lot of education, and the population is booming, rapid population growth. For stage 3, they have access to birth control. So the birth rate's starting to fall. They have access to education. They're slowing their population growth down. This is definitely a country that's very industrial, lots of manufacturing going on. And so their population growth is slowing. Stage 4, the growth is minimal. They've got a low birth rate, low death rate. Life expectancy is long. They've got a lot of money. They could keep people alive a long time, good medical care. If I was living in a stage 2, I would want to go live in a stage 4. I would want to get the heck out of my stage 2 and go to that stage 4. Stage 5, declining population. We see the workforce disappearing. All right. Lastly, is we want you to mess around with this website. After you upload your notes, you're going to come back to the Google call and you are going to share a cool fact you found at worldlifeexpectancy.com. I love this website. I think it's awesome. Worldlifeexpectancy.com. You're going to go into the World Health Rankings, and this shows you population pyramids. But what I also think is fascinating is it shows around the world how is everybody dying. So they've got everything. Like red, here's where people are dying of alcoholism. Here's where people are dying of cancers. Here's where people are dying mostly of breast cancer. Here's where people are dying of fires, of falling, of leukemia, of drug use. They've got just about everything. They've got Parkinson's and road traffic accidents and poisonings. So not only in World Health Rankings do they have how does everybody die? Let's look into road traffic accidents for a second. But then it's color coded and gives you ranking. Well, Zimbabwe, number 1 way to die. Liberia, also, and Malawi, you are going to probably get hit by a car or die in a traffic accident. So that is how people are dying. That's number 1. Where is it safer? Well, I could go way down here and I could see, I could drive around in Japan or Sweden and it's going to be safe. And Japan actually doesn't really even use their cars so much. They use public transportation. So that makes sense. Not only can I compare regionally, where are you going to die of what? But then I also think if I go back into World Health Rankings, it's interesting just to look at your UN country. So you could click into Afghanistan. And I'm going to guess, before I even click into Afghanistan, that a leading cause of death is war. So let's go see. So I'm clicking into Afghanistan and, I see the population pyramid, which I can see is a stage 2, probably. They're starting to move to a 3. And then I like that you can move it to the future and you can see, actually Afghanistan's going to move towards a 4. But then let's see how they die. Okay, there's all kinds of demographics here, all kinds of indicators, but coronary heart disease is actually number 1, then stroke, then war. So war is the 3rd way that they're going to die in Afghanistan. And I think this site is cool, not because I'm morbid, not because I fixate on death. I just think it's really fascinating to look at where is violence going to kill you more often, or where is old people diseases like Alzheimer's or cancers. Cancers and Alzheimer's because you're going to live a long time. And then that's what's finally going to get you versus violence. Man, you something might get you in the prime of your life. And what a bummer would that be? So Honduras, Venezuela, El Salvador, you're not going to even live long enough for cancer and Parkinson's. So here's what I want you to do is when you upload your notes, then I want you to go to worldlifeexpectancy.com. Please find a really cool fact to come share in the group chat. And I hope you found this interesting. I think it's really interesting. And thanks for being patient with my troublesome recording. Okay, bye.